Hi students, welcome to SPSVERSITY. Today we are going to learn about breathing and exchange of gases. What is this breathing? So breathing is just taking in of oxygen and releasing of carbon dioxide is called breathing. So taking in of oxygen and breathing out of carbon dioxide. So for this taking in and releasing of carbon dioxide, so a respiratory system is required. Where the respiratory system is different depending upon the species. For example, if you take fishes, the respiratory organs are gills. When you take earthworm, the respiratory organs are the skin itself. Is a respiratory organ through which the gases exchange takes place. So depending upon the species and their habitat, the respiratory system will be different. In humans, lungs are the respiratory organs. In humans, the lungs are the respiratory organs. So when you take the respiratory system of humans, so it starts with a pair of nostrils. In the nose, it starts with a pair of nostrils. So from these nostrils, the next is nasal cavity. So it passes on to the next pharynx. Next is larynx. Into the windpipe trachea. So trachea is called windpipe. And trachea enters into the lungs and divides into the release. It enters into the thorax and divides into two branches. These branches are called bronchi. And these bronchi will enter into the lungs and divides into many branches. So they are called bronchioles. So when you take the respiratory system of humans, it starts with nostrils. The next is nasal cavity. And the next is pharynx, which is common for both respiratory system and the respiratory system and digestive system. Next is larynx, which is called sound box. So through vibrations of vocal cords, the sound is produced. Next, trachea. Trachea divides into branches in the thorax, that is bronchi. Bronchi enter into the lungs and divides into many small fine branches. They are called bronchioles. So these are the parts of a human respiratory system in a sequence. So here, when we come to human respiratory system, okay. So here in this picture, you can see that is the nostrils, the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, which is called windpipe, bronchus, bronchioles, and each bronchiole ends with a bag-like structure that is called alveoli. So each bronchiole ends with a branch-like, ends with a bag-like structure that is called alveoli. So where in this alveoli, the gases exchange takes place between the blood and alveoli. So the exchange of gases takes place between these alveoli. So it is called, the alveoli is the part where gas exchange takes place. Where the remaining parts are called bronchiole, bronchus, trachea, pharynx, these all are conducting system of the respiratory system. So they just conduct, that is, they are just like a channel light which will allow the movement of gases. But the gas exchange takes place in alveoli. So bronchioles end with a tiny sac-like structure. They are called alveoli, which form the respiratory surface of the lungs. So oxygen will diffuse through the thin walls of alveoli into the blood. That is, whatever oxygen is present in the alveoli, it will diffuse into the thin wall of alveoli into the blood. And simultaneously, whatever the CO2 present in the blood, that is, it diffuses into alveoli. So that is here, whatever the blood reaches to alveoli, it is deoxygenated blood, which is rich in carbon dioxide. And this deoxygenated blood, due to oxygenation, so now it has converted to oxygenated blood. So lungs is the place where deoxygenated blood is converted to oxygenated. So where CO2 is removed and carbon O2 is added. So this process takes place in the alveoli of lungs. So these alveoli of lungs, if you see this very carefully, it is surrounded by a large network of blood vessels. It is surrounded by a large network of blood vessels. Okay. So here you can see these one which you can see. This is the deoxygenated blood with the more amount of CO2. So this is deoxygenated blood is converted to oxygenated blood where there is the more quantity of oxygen. Okay. So here if you see this, the part starting with the external nostrils up to the terminal bronchioles constitute conducting part. Only conducting. There is no exchange of gases, there is no. The alveoli and the ducts form the exchange part of the respiratory system. So exchange part is the place where actual diffusion of oxygen and CO2 takes place between blood and atmospheric air. Only in the nasal cavity, so the hairs present in the nasal cavity will filter the dust, will humidify the air, and will trap the microorganisms present in the air with the help of mucus. So that's all happens to the air which enters into the respiratory system. And where in alveoli we can see the exchange part, where the exchange of the gases takes place, that is oxygen and CO2 takes place. So when we come to the respiratory organs of humans, they are called lungs, which are present in thoracic chamber, which is formed by vertebral column dorsal side, on the dorsal side vertebral column, ventral side sternum, laterally 12 pairs of ribs, and lower side by diaphragm. So the lungs which are present in thoracic chamber, which are well protected by on all the sides, that is dorsally by vertebral column, ventrally by sternum, laterally by 12 pairs of lips, and lower side by the diaphragm. Okay. So when you come to the stages of respiration, see in respiration there are different stages like pulmonary ventilation, diffusion of gases across alveolar membrane, transport of gases by blood, diffusion of gases between blood and tissues, utilization of O2 by cells and release of CO2 into the blood. So these are different stages of respiration process. So in this process, that is, if you take the different stages, so in breathing there are two steps. One is inspiration and another one is expiration. Inspiration is movement of air into, taking in, and expiration means movement of air out of the lungs, is affected by pressure gradient. Is affected by pressure gradient between lungs and atmosphere. Okay. So inspiration, where gases are taken in, oxygen is taken in. So it has to take place means the pressure which is present inside the lungs, that is intrapulmonary pressure, should be lesser than atmospheric pressure, which is quite opposite to expiration. In expiration, intrapulmonary pressure should be more, higher. So higher intrapulmonary pressure than atmospheric pressure. Okay. So inspiration and expiration. So inspiration occurs when intrapulmonary pressure is less than atmospheric pressure. Expiration takes place when intrapulmonary pressure is higher than atmospheric pressure. Okay. So this is what happens. So here when you come to inspiration, that is when you take the process of inspiration, what actually happens during inspiration? So a lot of changes will take place, that is a physical process, like the diaphragm, external and internal costal muscles are involved in this. So here what happens is the contraction of diaphragm, which will increase the volume of thoracic chamber in anterior-posterior axis, and contraction of intercostal muscles, which will lift the ribs and sternum, so that the volume of thoracic chamber will increase in dorsoventral axis. So overall what happens is there is an increase in volume of thoracic chamber. As volume increases, the pressure of as increase in pulmonary volume, the lungs volume. So what happens is the intrapulmonary pressure will decreases. So that is, as intrapulmonary pressure is decreased and atmospheric pressure is high, so that what happens is air enters into the lungs, so which is called inspiration. And next, when you come to this expiration, what happens during expiration? So the relaxation of diaphragm and intercostal muscles will occur. Due to this, what happens is the diaphragm and sternum come to the normal position. Okay. So thoracic volume decreases. Even pulmonary volume will decrease. As volume decreases, the pulmonary pressure will increase. Okay. So here what happens is the intrapulmonary pressure is higher than atmospheric pressure. So when intrapulmonary pressure is higher than atmospheric pressure, air is expelled out from lungs, which is called expiration. On an average, healthy human breathes 12 to 16 times per minute. So 12 to 16 times means in a breathing cycle, an expiration and inspiration. So per minute it will be 12 to 16 minutes. So this is inhalation. Okay. So where the diaphragm contracts, so contraction of diaphragm, intercostal muscles will contract, so contraction of intercostal muscles. So that what happens, the volume of thoracic chamber will increase, so intrapulmonary pressure will decrease, so air is inhaled. Where the changes are quite opposite in exhalation, where diaphragm relaxes, intercostal muscles will relax. Intrapulmonary pressure will be higher than the atmospheric pressure, so air is exhaled out. Okay. So till now we have discussed about, that is, the inspiration and expiration in a breathing rate. So now we are going to discuss about respiratory volumes. What are these respiratory volumes? In this there are 4 categories, that is tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, residual volume. So tidal volume is the volume of air inspired or expired with each normal breath. That is, at each normal breath, 500 ml of air is inspired, expired. Inspiratory reserve volume, where the extra volume of air that can be inspired by over and above the normal. Inspiratory reserve volume means the more extra volume of air that can be inspired. Expiratory reserve volume, that is maximum extra volume of air that can be expired by forceful expiration. By force. Inspiratory reserve volume is by forceful inspiration. Expiratory reserve volume is by forceful expiration. So residual volume, it is the volume of air which is left in the lungs after forceful expiration. So the volume of air which is left, it is called residual volume. So now we are going to discuss about lung capacity. So the inspiratory capacity equals the tidal volume plus the inspiratory reserve volume. So the functional, the inspiratory capacity is equals to, that is the inspiratory capacity IC is equals to tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. Functional residual capacity FRC is equal to expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. Is equal to residual volume.